Institute for 20 years, so I've known her for as long as I've been here, because she's been involved even longer than 20 years. She was involved in the early years, as she used to recount in her little anecdotal style, that her first time becoming cognizant of union is she got her first paycheck when she was a social worker at Veterans Affairs, and she said, well, how come I'm not paid more than this? And they said, well, if you're not happy, go talk to your union. She said, well, what's my union? So somebody gave her the phone number of PIPS, so she called in, and they said, yeah, you're part of the health sciences group, and as a matter of fact, we have a meeting tonight. Why don't you come down? So she says, okay, I'm coming down. So she came down to the Institute. We were then on Bronson, and basically sat into her first union meeting, and that was the beginning of her union involvement. So ever since then, she was involved with the group. She was involved with joint bargaining, which was in the late 80s, that they had common groups at one table. She was involved with consultation. She was involved with pay equity. The Institute had a large pay equity case with the three female-dominated groups, which we won, actually, in the early 90s. And then she became vice president, and then she became president of the Institute with the 2004 election. So she became president with the election and started on January 1st, 2005. Completed one mandate of 3 years, and it was re-elected at the end of 2007 for another 3-year mandate. So she has now completed first year, unfortunately, which would have ended at the end of 2010 next year.
Very sad. She really had a lot of motivation as a labor activist. Do you know where that came from? Do you know what motivated her? Was it a sense of social justice, the love of fellow workers? Where did it come from?
Well, certainly social justice, love of fellow workers. She was a social worker, and she was a people person. She empathized. She helped. She did everything in her power to basically help people, and that's really I think that was one of her main motivation, to be able to help others through difficult situations. And we saw her throughout in many things that she did. When we did, her and I did a lot of worksite visits, visiting our members in their different areas where they worked, and she always had a very open ear to what people had to tell her, whether it be about their own personal situations or whether it be the group situation. And she was always very open and very empathic, and wanting always to, try to resolve the issue that had been put forward to her. So she had a social conscience, and she was and she was a people person. So she really wanted to help people along.
The thing that I talked to her most about as I got to know her in the past year or so was public services, and because public services really came, and the importance of them, and the difficulty of maintaining them has really come into some prominence in the news lately. Tell me about Michele Demers and public services. What were her feelings about that? What were her feelings about the politics?
Well, the public services, she was invested in what our members do for Canadians. So that was of primary importance to her. And she felt very strongly that some of the policies that were coming down were going to be harming the health of Canadians. Food safety, for example, toy safety, for another example. What happened to the member Luc Pomerleau last year, which was a public case, and Luc was dismissed. I mean, she was devastated by that sort of thing, because Luc had basically brought forward an issue which would have an impact on Canadians, and this was important to her, and that the way he had been treated in a cavalier fashion was unacceptable, because she firmly believed in what the public service brings to the fiber of this society, the Canadian fiber of who we are, and how we basically provide good services to the people of this country.
Just in the past week, I believe Michele Demers and PIPS were involved in launched a legal action that I don't quite understand about poultry inspection, which I believe has been given over to the private sector. Can you talk about that at all?
I can't say that I know all of the ramifications of the issue. I must tell you that it has to do with the way that the poultry is now being inspected in slaughterhouses, where veterinarians, professionals, members of the Professional Institute were involved on a daily basis of verifying the poultry is going through the slaughterhouse, has now been diminished to 2 periods of 20 minutes per day. And this, we feel, could have some repercussions for Canadians, as not all poultry is being inspected to 100%, and could dead or sick poultry or poultry with some health issues go through the lines and go into the food chain could be an issue. So we are in defense of this process being put forward by CFIA, and that's why we have tabled, or we presented a notice of application in court and on December 30th. And this has been the issue that she has brought forward, that by changing the process of inspecting the animals could jeopardize the food chain in Canada.
One final question. Is there a moment or an event or a happening of some sort that you will remember Michele Demers for? Is there something that stands out in your mind that is typifying the woman?
Well, her little story that I shared with you about how she got involved in the union movement, that was her. You know, I could just see her opening her paycheck and, you know, sort of being mesmerized by what was on there and sort of saying, oh, we got to do something about it, and not waiting till tomorrow or the day after or 3 months, just picking up the phone and getting involved right away. It was very quintessential of her. And we, as I say, we traveled, we visited work sites both in the National Capital Region and across the country, and it was always a wonderful enlightenment for both of us to discover this wonderful work that our members do for Canadians, whether it be the Lab 4 in Winnipeg or the penitentiaries in Abbotsford or the army bases, the bases in Gander, in Nova Scotia, and we were always so very happy to be able to discover what our members do for Canadians, and that was always a highlight for both of us.
Chantal Lecours, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure to share these moments about Michele. And she was a wonderful lady, a wonderful union president. I learned from her. I traveled with her, and I'm going to miss her sorely. And it's a very sad moment for myself and all my colleagues here at the Professional Institute.